Hi, history makers. Have you ever felt like the world is waiting for you to speak up, but you're caught in a silent struggle, unsure of how to roar? Maybe you've been putting in the work, grinding day after day, but still, you feel like your efforts are unheard. But let me tell you something. Silence isn't your enemy. It's the space where your hustle grows, where the foundations of your dreams are being built layer by layer. Part 1. The Silent Struggle. Picture this. A young artist sitting alone in a dimly lit room. The only sound the rhythm of their brush strokes against the canvas. Each movement is deliberate, each stroke a battle fought in silence. They're not just painting, they're pouring their soul into every inch of that canvas, hoping that one day the world will see what they see, the beauty, the truth, the vision that only they can bring to life. Every inch of the canvas is a reflection of their heart, a heart that beats for something greater. But here's the catch. Outside of this small room, the world doesn't understand. People tell them that art isn't a career. It's just a hobby, they say. You need to be practical. You can't live off of paint and dreams. And yet, this young artist keeps going. Every day, the brush touches the canvas again without hesitation. Despite the whispers, the doubts, and the mockery, they continue to work, and most importantly, they do in silence. A silence that is deafening to anyone who dares to doubt them, but a silence that also fuels them. The silence is not defeat, it is strength. It's where the hustle begins. But within this silence, something powerful is brewing. You see, silence is not weakness. It is the furnace where dreams are forged. This artist, whose every day begins and ends with struggle, is building something that cannot be ignored. The world may not see it yet, but in every stroke of the brush, they are crafting a masterpiece. They are writing their own destiny, step by step, silently, but with unwavering commitment. The fire that burns inside them cannot remain quiet forever. It will not be tamed by the world's doubts or silenced by its skepticism. That fire will find its way out. And when it does, oh, how loud it will roar. The day will come when this artist will take their work to the world. And when they do, the world will be forced to listen. It won't matter that they were told no 1,000 times. It won't matter that others laughed at their dreams. What will matter is that they didn't listen. They didn't stop. They didn't let the silence drown them. Instead, they used that silence to grow, to build, to create. And when that time comes, when the artist stands in front of the world, ready to unveil their work, the silence will no longer be a barrier. It will be the very thing that gives their roar power. The moment their art hits the public eye, it will be loud, it will be bold, and it will be impossible to ignore. The world will hear it, and they will not just hear it, they will feel it. That fire will blaze across the globe, and the world will know that silence was never their weakness. It was their strength, their secret weapon, the very fuel that made their hustle roar. As the world stands in awe, the artist will know that every moment spent in silence was worth it. Every brushstroke, every second of doubt, every battle fought in their mind was all part of the journey. The world didn't hear them at first, but now, they can't help but listen. Your silence is where your hustle starts to speak. Let your roar echo across the world. It's not the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Part 2. The Waiting Game. Here's the thing. We all go through the waiting game, don't we? It's that nagging feeling of being stuck, waiting for the right moment, the perfect opportunity, or that elusive perfect time. The hours drag on, days turn into weeks, and nothing seems to change. You wake up every day with the same question echoing in your mind. When will it happen? When will things start to move? But here's the catch. Time doesn't care about your schedule. Time doesn't work on your clock. It's indifferent, moving forward relentlessly while we remain in our quiet anticipation. But do you know what works? Your hustle, the fire that burns within you, the thing that keeps you going even when the world seems still, even when doors are slammed in your face. That's what you can control. You see, while time doesn't stop, your hustle doesn't need to wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't need a set time. Your hustle works at your pace, at your command. Let me take you to a small town where a young entrepreneur named Rami had a dream. Rami wasn't born into wealth. He didn't have access to resources. But what he did have was vision, and he believed that his dream could change lives. He wanted to create a business that could transform his community and impact the world. The dream was clear, but the road? It was anything but. At first, things seemed promising. Rami had an idea that could revolutionize the market. He began knocking on doors, pitching to investors, reaching out for opportunities. But with every knock, there came silence. No calls returned. No meetings scheduled. No partners interested. Every door he approached was slammed shut before he even had a chance to present his vision. He could have walked away. He could have given up, but instead, something else happened. The silence didn't break him. It shaped him. At night, Rami sat alone at his desk, his laptop glowing in the dim light. His mind raced, constantly thinking, tweaking, refining his ideas. The silence around him was deafening, but it wasn't a silence that made him feel small. No, it was a silence that he would use to his advantage. While the world slept, Rami worked. While others grew impatient, he was busy sharpening his craft, expanding his knowledge, growing his skills. It was in those quiet moments, when no one was watching, that his true work began. His thoughts became clearer, his ideas more refined. He realized something. Silence was never his enemy. It had become his ally. It was in this space, when the world couldn't hear him, that he could hear himself. He could hear his dreams louder than ever. He could hear the potential in his ideas. And as the days passed, his hustle began to roar quietly beneath the surface, preparing to break through the silence with undeniable force. One night, after another long day of work, Rami leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen in front of him. His eyes were tired, but his heart was full. He whispered to himself, "This silence will be my strength, and when I break it, I'll do it with a roar." It wasn't the roar of impatience or frustration. It was the roar of determination, the roar of someone who had found their footing in the quiet, and now they were ready to rise. And that's when he realized it wasn't about waiting for the world to give him the perfect moment. It was about making that moment happen himself. It was about understanding that time doesn't follow our schedule, but our hustle can shape time. And when you hustle long enough, when you refine your skills and fortify your will, the silence that once held you captive will eventually break. It may take time, it may take longer than you expect, but when your roar finally comes, it will be louder than anything else. It will be the sound of all those quiet hours, all those doubts, all those obstacles, all coming together in one powerful, unstoppable force. Rami kept working in that silence, his ideas taking shape and his business beginning to take form. He no longer feared the waiting game. He embraced it, and when his moment arrived, it arrived with a roar that shook the very foundations of everything he had worked for. Waiting is hard, but in that silence, you find your true strength. And Rami knew that the silence was no longer something to dread. It was the forge in which his dreams were being molded, stronger, sharper, and ready to roar into the world. Part 3, the roar begins. Now, imagine this moment. Silence no longer holds power over you. The world, once so loud with doubt, is suddenly quieted by the intensity of your focus. Every minute of struggle, every hour of practice, every tear and laugh that you've spent in solitude, it all comes down to this one singular moment. Your hustle, your passion, everything you've worked for is ready to explode. For years, you've waited for the right time, but the truth is, the right time was always you. And now, the world is about to hear your roar. Let's take a deeper dive into the life of a young woman, Zara. She's always had the gift, the voice, the talent, the dream. But despite all of that, there was always something holding her back, fear. She spent years practicing, standing in front of her mirror, alone in her room. Every note she sang was perfect, every pitch just right, but she never dared to step onto the stage. The stage felt too big, too frightening, and above all, too full of judgment. The silence that surrounded her at home became a comfort zone, even though she knew it wasn't where she was meant to stay. But life has a funny way of pushing you when you least expect it. One night, while sitting in a coffee shop, a flyer on the counter caught her eye, an open mic night. She had heard about these before, but this time something inside her stirred. The flyers seemed to be calling out to her, but the question in her heart was louder. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Yet, something told her that this was her moment, her time to finally break free from the silence. With shaking hands and a heart racing in her chest, she signed up. The night of the open mic, Zara's heart hammered in her chest like a war drum. She arrived early, her palms slick with sweat, her mind a storm of self-doubt. Her dreams were enormous, but her fear was even bigger. She watched others take the stage, each performer brave in their own way, but still, her fear kept her rooted to the spot. But then it was her turn. As her name was called, the world seemed to stop. Time stood still. She walked toward the stage with shaky legs, the spotlight glaring down at her. The microphone stood there, waiting for her like an old friend she hadn't yet met. She took a deep breath. The crowd watched her with anticipation. She could feel their eyes on her, their expectations weighing her down. Every part of her screamed to run, to hide, to retreat back into the safety of silence. But in that moment, Zara made a choice that would change everything. She stepped up to the mic, closed her eyes, and instead of running from her fear, she allowed it to fuel her. The first note she sang was not just a note, it was a roar that tore through the silence and shook the walls. The sound was raw, real, and unmistakably hers. As her voice filled the room, the air seemed to thicken, each vibration wrapping itself around every listener's heart. People stopped breathing for a moment, listening not just to the melody, but to the story within her voice, the years of struggle, the tears, the doubts, all of it coming out in one glorious, defiant sound. In that one moment, Zara did not just sing. She became the song. She became the roar that had been building inside of her for so long. The silence that had once trapped her now became the very thing that propelled her into greatness. She stood there, microphone in hand, eyes closed, feeling the power of her own voice. And in that silence, she understood something profound. The silence isn't where you stay. It's where you prepare to roar from. The audience, still in awe, erupted into applause. Zara opened her eyes, seeing the crowd not as strangers, but as the people she had been preparing for all these years. And she knew that this was only the beginning. The roar that she had unleashed had only just started. This moment, this performance, wasn't just about Zara stepping onto the stage. It was about her stepping into her own power. It was a declaration to herself and to the world that she was ready. Ready to take on whatever came her way. Ready to rise above the doubts, the fears, and the silence. When your time comes, you won't just speak, you'll roar. And when you do, the world will listen. This is the moment where dreams shift from wishful thinking to reality. Every person who has ever dared to dream big, to step outside their comfort zone, knows this truth deep in their bones. Your roar is your power. And when you finally let it out, nothing can stop you. So what's holding you back? Is it the fear of failure or the worry that you might not be enough? Zara's story proves one thing. The silence may be loud, but the roar of your soul is louder. And the world is waiting to hear it. When your time comes, you won't just speak, you'll roar, and the world will listen. Part 4. The power of action. Waiting for the silence to end is one thing, but making an end, that is a power that lies within you. The moment your hustle turns into a roar, the very ground beneath your feet seems to shake with energy, as if the universe itself is responding to your determination. But here's the truth. You can't just wait for life to hand you success. You can't sit back and hope for an opportunity to fall into your lap. Life is not a passive journey. It's about action. It's about stepping into the world, no matter how uncertain or terrifying, and putting in everything you've got. Let's talk about Ollie, a young man whose dream was to become a world-class athlete. He wasn't born into privilege, didn't have the best equipment or the connections that others did. What Ollie did have, however, was something far more powerful: grit. He didn't rely on excuses or wait for the perfect circumstances. His dream wasn't handed to him on a silver platter. He earned it every single day. Every morning, while others slept, Ollie ran. He trained when the world seemed to be going on without him. He put in the hours, focused not on what he lacked, but on what he could control. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was anything but. But there was something deep within him, a fire that could not be extinguished by doubt, by ridicule, or by the hard road ahead. The more he trained, the more the silence around him grew. Not because he had nothing to say, but because his actions were louder than anything anyone could say. And those actions, the consistency, the endless days of pushing through pain and doubt, became the roar. Ollie didn't just dream of winning a medal. He dreamed of showing the world that determination, resilience, and hard work could break through anything. no matter your background, no matter your resources. People around him laughed. They doubted him. They said he'd never make it, that his dreams were too big for someone like him. But Ali kept his silence. It wasn't out of fear or resignation. No, he kept silent because he knew something they didn't. His actions were speaking louder than words ever could. Then came the day when Ali stood at the starting line of competition that could change everything for him. His heart raced with anticipation, but it wasn't just the nerves he had to fight. It was the years of hardship, the scars of every past failure, the weight of every doubtful word that had been spoken about him. Yet, as the gunshot fired, something shifted. There was no hesitation. There was no looking back. With every step, every push of his muscles, he was not just racing against time or his competitors. He was racing against every limitation that had ever been placed on him. And when he crossed that finish line first, the roar that followed was more than just a victory. It was the sound of every person who had ever been told they couldn't. Ali's first gold medal was not just a personal triumph. It was a message that echoed far beyond the arena. It reverberated through every gym, every track, every corner of the world where someone was working in silence, striving toward their dreams despite the doubts. His victory was a roar, not just for himself, but for every single person who believed their hustle could roar too. But remember, it wasn't the silence that made him great. It wasn't the waiting. It wasn't the dreaming. It was the action, the fire that fueled his every move, the relentless push forward when the world seemed to stand still. Action is what transformed his silence into a roar. And that roar is heard, not just by those who cheer you on, but by everyone who has ever faced adversity and decided to keep going anyway. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is where you fuel the fire. Your actions will be the roar that follows. Ali's story is a testament to the power of persistence. It's a reminder that success doesn't just come from waiting for the perfect moment or the right opportunity. It comes from getting up, getting out, and working harder than you ever thought possible. It's about making every second count, every step matter, and every action a reflection of your deepest commitment. When you make the choice to act, the world starts paying attention. Every small victory builds upon the next, and soon your hustle doesn't just become a whisper in the background. It becomes a roar that can be heard across the world. But you won't get there by waiting. You won't get there by wondering what might have been. You'll get there by moving, by acting, by showing up for yourself, day after day, even when the silence seems deafening. So, ask yourself this. What are you waiting for? Your roar is already building within you. It's not the silence that holds the power. It's the fire you fuel in that silence, and the actions you take to bring that fire into the world. When you let your actions speak louder than your doubts, the world won't just hear your roar. It will feel it, and it will never forget it. Part 5. Breaking the silence. Roaring for the future. What's the secret to breaking the silence and letting your hustle roar? It's not about waiting for the perfect moment or the applause from the world. It's about believing that every step you take, every effort you put in, even when no one is watching, matters. It's about understanding that while the world may not always hear your quiet struggles, one day, when your roar shakes the ground beneath them, they will realize something profound. You were always there. You were always working in silence, preparing for this moment. And here's the truth, the silence. It's not a place of weakness. It's a sacred space where you do the real work. The world might not see every late night, every sacrifice, every lonely hour spent building something that others can't yet see, but that doesn't mean it's not important. That doesn't mean it's not shaping the path to your destiny. Think about this. Silence is where your true self is forged. It's in the quiet moments, the stillness, the moments when you have no audience, that you find your power. It's here, in the unspoken, that you discover who you truly are. When the world is noisy and full of distractions, that silence is your refuge. That silence is where you refine your craft, where you build your dream from the ground up. So, now it's time for you to break that silence. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for someone else to tell you when the time is right, because the time is now. It's been here all along, patiently waiting for you to realize that you are ready. Don't wait for validation or approval. You don't need anyone to give you the green light to start making your mark on this world. When you're ready, your hustle will roar, and the world won't be able to ignore it. Remember this. Your journey doesn't need to be loud from the beginning. It doesn't need to be flashy or full of recognition right away, but it will be felt. Your quiet dedication, your consistent work will resonate far beyond what you can imagine. And one day, when the roar comes, it won't just shake the earth. It will shake the very core of everyone who ever doubted you. Look at all the greats in history. Did they begin with a crowd? No. They started alone, in silence, perfecting their craft. It was their quiet persistence, their refusal to give up even when the world didn't notice, that made their eventual roar so powerful. Their hustle wasn't built on noise, but on quiet action. And when the time came, the world had no choice but to listen. This is your moment. It's time to stop waiting for the world to catch up. The world will only catch up when your hustle starts to make waves. When you start showing up, not because you need approval, but because you believe in what you're building. Your roar will speak for itself. It will shake people out of their complacency, stir them from their apathy, and make them realize that the quiet ones are often the most dangerous. The time to rise is now. Don't wait for the world to tell you it's time to act. Don't wait for someone to hand you a microphone. You already have one in your hands. The microphone of your actions. When you speak through your hustle, your roar will be louder than any words. Rise, roar, and make your mark on the world. The time has come. This is the moment where you stop being passive, where you stop waiting for permission. You break the silence, not by shouting, but by moving with purpose, with fire, and with an unshakable belief that your time is now. When you believe in yourself, when you commit to your journey without hesitation, your roar will break the silence and leave the world speechless. The time has come for you to step into your own. And once you do, nothing will stop you. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time,